Hey, good to go.
Yeah. Wow. Spectrum, I've done intermodal transit centers, I've done.
Call this meeting to order. The June 3rd Board of Adjustment meeting. Thanks for everything. June 3rd Board of Adjustment meeting. Thanks for everyone for being here. We'll move right into the consent agenda, which only includes approval of the previous minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next item is public hearing H2025-01, special use permit for Royal Empire Tattoo Studio. We do not have a full board tonight. However, required for a special use permit is a simple majority, so you would need 3 out of 4 votes to approve. And so I'd now like to offer the applicant the opportunity to either continue with these proceedings or continue them to a further meeting when we have a further board. That is your choice. I'm happy to give you 5 minutes if you guys would like to go confer in the hallway, or but it's entirely up to you at this point. Can you speak into the microphone, please?
My name is Fernando. Nice to meet you. My wife, my English is not well. I try. I am learning, but my wife can do my translator. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we would like to continue today.
You want to go ahead and
We're
continue?
already here, and we would like to get things done today.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll go ahead and open the hearing then. Is staff presenting their report first?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have some that are signed up to speak. Obviously, it's the 3 of you. Carly will do the swearing in. So.
Staff and please, I think you all signed up, right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Just please raise your right hand. And do you confirm that the testimony that you give to the board this evening is the truth? If so, please say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Shelley DeHart. I'm the Assistant Planning Director and the Project Planner for this petition. We have titled this case Royal Empire Tattoo Studios, Special Use Permit H2025-01. This is a request for the Board of Adjustment to consider a special use permit that would authorize the establishment of a tattoo business within an existing commercial strip center. Now, this is pursuant to the town's Unified Development Ordinance, specifically Section 1410202. As you can see on the screen is the actual use table that identified that this is a permitted use within the general commercial zone, however, subject to an approval of a special use permit. Now, with all quasi-judicial decisions, the Unified Development Ordinance provides decision criteria. This is found for special use permits in Section 140.0406. We have provided for you each a worksheet that outlines all of the decision criteria that needs to be considered in order to approve or disapprove this petition, and we hope you utilize this for your notes as we go through the presentation. So I'll start out with the site location. The proposed site is 112 Morris Drive. The map you see on your screen is the town's zoning map. The site location is identified on the screen. It is located within the general commercial zoning classification. To the north of the subject site, right across Morris Drive, is the residential medium zoning district. And then to the west, we have some general commercial, as well as on the other side of the street, we have some additional residential. And to the south is also general commercial. The photograph on your screen is the subject site, again, 112 Morris Drive. It's a strip center, 6,000 square feet in size, built around 1987. In evaluating the subject site, again, built in 1987, under the ordinances, development regulations at that time, the site is considered non-conforming as it pertains to characteristics of the site, such as it's non-conforming with regard to landscaping, buffers around the site, as well as the trash enclosure that would typically be required if developing today. And I'll point out on the screen, this is a building pad here where the existing commercial bin sits. It is in compliance as far as the setbacks, the uses, and parking. So as mentioned, all special use permits, when considered by the Board of Adjustment, have to be evaluated through certain sections of the UDO where you find the decision criteria. As staff, we can speak to compliance with some of this criteria, which I'll briefly go over. So first of all, the subject site is located within the mixed-use future land use designation, and that is found in the Harrisburg Area Land Use Plan. The proposed use tonight is consistent with the uses that are envisioned under the mixed-use designation. Other criteria include ingress and egress to the site. As seen in the site plan, there's adequate ingress and egress to the site. With regard to nuisances, the operation of a tattoo facility is required to follow state regulations outlined by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health and Environmental sections. The applicant will be required to have their site inspected and be in compliance with the site regulation, the state regulations. We have included, if the board finds that criteria can be supported to approve this special use permit, one of the conditions proposed by staff is that the applicant obtain all required permits. Orderly development, this is an existing developed site built in 1987 and complied with the regulations at that time. Health, safety, and welfare, again, there are agencies that the proposed use operators have to be in compliance with. Their use, if approved by special use permit, would comply with the UDO. Prior approval, staff did not find any record of any prior approvals on this site as it relates to special use permits, conditional use permits, or conditional zonings. Our assumption is they did get the appropriate building permits, and it appears so by the county records. Promote the purposes of the UDO. Again, we look for compliance, consistency with uses and development regulations. This case would need to be heard in a public hearing. That is why we are here this evening. Adequate public facilities. The existing site is already serviced with town utilities, and compatibility with surrounding and permitted land uses. This type of use is consistent with the other uses that we find in the area. This commercial center has operated pretty quietly. It is very well maintained within that area across from the existing single-family residential area on the other side of Morris Drive. Other sections of the UDO, we did again evaluate the site with regard to non-conforming attributes, and based on property lines and the built environment, we find that there really isn't any area that we could obtain additional landscaping or buffers without losing parking, which their site is in compliance with regard to the commercial operations and the requirement for parking. And with regard to the trash enclosure, we are proposing this evening to include a condition that would require a trash enclosure be built on this pad to try to screen the existing commercial bin. There really is no location area on the site to be able to move it to. It's a very tight and built out site.
Question. Have there been any complaints with Cabarrus County Sheriffs from the neighbors for this property?
I don't have any record of it. It hasn't been reported, nor have I investigated that issue. So, so with that, if the board finds that the proposed use meets the applicable criteria for granting the special use permit, staff recommends the following conditions of approval: that the applicant be required to obtain approvals from any state, local, or federal agencies, that a trash enclosure will be constructed to house the commercial trash bin on the site, and then with all special use permit, the applicant has 2 years from the date of approval, if approved, to obtain all necessary permits and to implement this special use permit. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions. We have provided motions both for and against the project, just based on your decisions, criteria, findings. So I'd like to enter this presentation into the record for the special use permit.
Couple of questions. Does this special use permit apply only to this address?
That's correct.
So if they decide to move, then they would need another special use permit at a new address?
It runs with the property, and we've identified it as 112, actually Suite 6. It's their proposed site. So if they move to a different location in the town, they would need to get a new special use permit for that other site. I'm looking to the attorney to see if that would apply to site suite movement.
Assuming that the zoning allows.
Yes. Yes, so they can have one special use permit for this site, but they can, for that suite only. Okay, so a new one. So it only applies to Suite 6 at this address.
Okay, so if they moved out on 49 someplace, then they would need.
They would need a new special use permit. It goes by location.
I haven't heard anything about signage. Do you have any information on signage?
The signage, we would follow the current Unified Development Ordinance with regard to signage.
Which is?
Which allows some a wall sign above their suite. They have a certain amount of window, they could do a window sign as well, as long as the transparency is maintained. Of no more than what the 30% transparency is required for windows. So,
am I going to drive down Moorhead and see these big old balloon things going up in the air?
That is not permitted within the town anywhere. So, temporary balloons, inflatable, the flag signs are not permissible signs within the town of Harrisburg for any business.
Okay.
Other questions?
Question in terms of what will be taking place at the property, is this purely tattoo design, not tattoo removal, so nothing in the way of medical procedures, no need for special HVAC equipment, anything of that sort?
We'll let the applicant address that question.
Good, okay.
So for the project that we're working on and this new business, it will only be tattoos, and further on, if we do get the people that would come and work for us, new staff members, we are looking forward to somebody doing piercings, which is something very, typical that you find at a tattoo shop. Nothing as removing tattoos or doing anything that is medical, but just art.
Thank you.
I don't know how much was explained to you, but the burden of proof to show that you complying with all these items is on you. So I don't know if you'd like to address them. I don't know if she has a worksheet. But I think the board would like to hear how you believe that you're complying with all these items.
So, our proposed business project is more, we're missing a word in the tattoo shop. It is a private studio. So being private will not really, I don't see much of interfering a lot with parking space or bringing too much people inquiring or anything like that. Everything is more into pre-inquired either through social media or phone call to come in for a visitation to the space studio before anything is really an appointment done. It wouldn't really bring more into also problems with our front across the street residential neighbors. We have had some quite of communication with some of them. They've had mentioned that they also own businesses right next to us, the Mustafa Pizza place. So they are residents right behind their businesses. We have already, have a little conversation and they're like, oh yeah, we live right in front of your business. So it's more of, we're looking forward to really be able to work with what do we need to comply to really make this dream come true, more of a dream, because we've been really working really hard and putting all our work into bringing this business into really becoming, something that we've been planning and just wishing that it is something that can be, I don't have the word.
So I do want to point out that on page 14 of the packet is the applicant's worksheet that they submitted to justify some of the decision criteria.
This is their submission.
This came in with their.
Oh, este es el proyecto que yo le mandé. Ese es el papel que yo le mandé.
Respecto a su pregunta que hizo, pues que podemos hacer algo que conviva con las normas de ciudad. Hacer algo completamente fresco, que sea muy bonito y que no viole la norma de nuestros vecinos que son estilistas, chamas de belleza y enfermos. No sé cómo lo dejan en el máximo. Estoy un estudio con un enfoque totalmente nuevo y curso.
We want to be not something from the bunch of the ordinary. We would like to be more of a luxury and private spot. We do respect that we have other spaces next to us that, provide services for hair, makeup, and all of that requires us more of a neutral and respectable space to work with, not think of so much of creating a environment where everybody else is going to be affected either. We want to respect also what's going on in that same business all around the area where we are. ¿Qué más que diga?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure she understands how she needs to tell us records like you asked her to. Even though, as Shelley pointed out, on page 14, that apparently was part of the application.
Yes.
So I think it is part of the record. At least, you know, as good the application is part of the record. But I'm not sure that she understands, you know, what you were asking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with the written response, if that's satisfactory from a legal perspective. I thought this was staff's report, but
This is something I turned in.
yeah, this is yours, so that's satisfactory to me. But I think we may have some questions about it. Yeah, but again, it is up to you to prove that this is okay.
Yes,
to
definitely,
the board.
yes.
Okay. I have a question for you. Do you know what your hours of operation will be?
Well, hours of operation could really vary, but it would be more like, ¿cuáles son las horas de operación? From anywhere around 11 a.m. to probably extended to 7 p.m.
Monday through Friday?
Every day. Monday to Sunday.
And have you discussed the signage? Because you are facing a residential development. I know that we have.
We've seen, and we're trying to base more on what our sweet neighbors have.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to do something very similar, nothing too of a balloons or anything like that, more something of just saying tattoo. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Just a lighted sign.
Maybe lighted. We're thinking about it. We're really trying to see if we just do like the regular sign tattoo.
Shelley, do we have, is there anything in our UDO about blinking signs?
Yeah, blinking sign is not permissible.
Not permissible. So a lighted sign would be fine.
So yes, and even then, you're correct that there's some regulations as it relates next to the residential area that we would follow.
In terms of not just the blinking and the illumination, but hours of when they're on.
I can't repeat the exact regulations, so I'll be glad to look.
Understood.
But there are special regulations as it relates to when it's adjacent to a residential piece of
Right.
so not permissible.
Yeah. Okay.
I would think we would want those off during their closed hours.
Yeah, again, we don't want to have signs that are bringing people's attention for people to come in. Oh, are you guys doing tattoos? Are you guys accepting walk-ins? It's going to be a private. It's more like in a social media inquiring, so our clients know that we would be open and we would be doing services, but it wouldn't be a walk-in location where you would just walk in and, can I have a tattoo today? Can I get this? Or can me and my partner have matching tattoos? Nothing like that. It's more of a inquire first and then move forward to any type of service.
On the dumpster enclosure, who's responsible for that? Is that something, I'm assuming the property owner is going to handle, not a tenant? Shelley, is that something you've had a conversation with at a higher level?
Well, we had a group discussion before the meeting, but we did send the information to both the property owner and the applicants that the burden of ensuring that gets done is on actually the applicant. They can't start their business until they comply with the conditions of approval, if that's included. So that would have to be worked out between property owner and business owners.
Sure, so you're tying the permit to that being part of the approval,
It's
or you're
a
recommending,
condition.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Is that all you have to say this time?
Just that we have been putting our hearts, family time, and everything into this project. And for us being our first time trying to build a business, we would like for everything to be considered, and we'll thank you for being here and your time for, you know, considering this special permit application. And if it becomes a yes, it won't be taken, you know, for granted.
Mr. Noor, is it? You're signed up to speak, so I'd like to give you the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
So I've been a resident here since the 90s. I actually rented a space from this building for 17 years and bought it from Howard Stafford about 6 or 7 years ago. And me and my son. And we've put a lot of time and money and energy into it, trying to bring it up. And we don't allow just anybody in there. I like the vape shops. I know the town has an issue with it, but it's a flat no to me. I don't want flashing. I don't want the trash that all that brings. So when they got a hold of me, my first thought, being a tattoo place, was, shit, it's a tattoo place. But I have one. So, but what sold me on them was the private, like, there's no walk-ins. There's not going to be people hanging out there. It's going to be high-end tattoos. I have a buddy that was third in command at Wells Fargo, and he retired. Super conservative, and I just saw him about 2 weeks ago, and he's got a damn sleeve now that probably cost him a lot of money. So I don't think tattoos are necessarily it's not our grandfather's tattoos that they're doing nowadays. I mean, it's art, and I would invite you, if you need to swing by and see the inside. They have spent 3 months, and I'd hate to think how much money putting this thing together. It's the nicest unit that I have of the 6 that they have put into this. So I, as the owner of the building, am not worried about the optics of a tattoo place, because I've seen what they've done, and I'm totally comfortable with them. And, you know, they've been waiting for this hearing and putting the money in, and in the meantime, they've paid 4 months of rent to get to this point. So, and I think they I didn't know this, but I think they kind of did a good job explaining this is their dream. So from a longtime resident guy that was in that place for 16 years and now owns it, and I want good tenants, not only for, you know, that pay their rent on time, but also for the town that is going to be something that we service. Does anybody know, is there a tattoo place in Harrisburg now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions for me?
Board?
I just have one question. Any specifics of the lease that you'd like to show? Are there any co-tenancy clauses or things around the hours of operation that were part of that structure?
No, but like our signs, we have no signs that light up. They're all probably about 4 foot by 4, or probably about 6 by 3. They all are uniform on the front, if they even want signs. We don't allow any flashing or anything that's obnoxious, or just, I have other tenants, and the other tenants are super professional type businesses that have people coming in. But no, the lease they have, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just any clauses around hours of operation or any co-tenancy?
No, because we have two hair salons in there. One of them's been in there for, it was built in '87, they got there in '88. And they are there on Sundays. They're there on Saturdays. For me, I'm a parking guy. I don't want to have parking be an issue, so I actually like when people work on the weekends, because the 9 to 5 people Monday through Friday are not trying to find parking spots here.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, so taking a moment to look at the sign ordinance, and I did not see any prohibition on internally illuminated signs. So if the board wishes, they could always consider they would prefer a non-illuminated sign. They can put it in the form of condition of approval. So
But confident the flashing is not allowed. Okay. Other questions from the board?
And if it is illuminated, I'd like to see it shut off after business hours for the residents across the street.
So if the applicant has said all they feel like they want to say here today, normally the procedure for the board here is to go through the worksheet and take them one by one and see how the board feels about it. And if we get to a no on any of them, that's kind of it, but it's nice to go through all of them. If you'd like to hear some more or have questions in the meantime, we should do that. We should do that now before we move into that process.
No further questions from me.
Good. So the first item is how proposed special use will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located in general conformance with the HALOP. Any comments on that item? No concerns. Rich, do I need to take a vote on each item?
I'm sorry.
Do I need to take a vote on each item on the worksheet?
It probably wouldn't hurt, since we're gonna go through them each and see if there's anyone who doesn't feel that the application, as you've seen it, meets any of these criteria. So I think that's what you just said, that if there's a no vote on one, it's going to affect the whole thing.
Right.
I believe we ought to take them one at a time.
That's my preference, is to take them one at a time. Okay. So I guess let's go ahead and just take a vote on each one as we go. Any motion as to whether this meets or does not meet item 1, the HALOP?
I'll motion to meet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Ingress and egress, this is adequate measures for minimizing traffic hazards and minimize traffic congestion on public roads. Any comment on that or a motion?
No, sir, me.
I'll motion to meet.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Nuisances. Proposed use shall not be noxious or offensive by reason of vibration, noise, odor, dust, smoke, or gas.
Motion to approve.
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Orderly development. Not impede orderly development improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted within the zoning district.
Move to approve.
One comment, if there
Yeah.
is a lit sign, to have a condition where it is shut off after business hours, is this the appropriate section?
Would that be in 6?
It's probably, yeah, I'm not sure it belongs in 6. Probably belongs in
Maybe section 6 of the provisions.
in 5 or 6, just kind of general welfare. I think the concern that we're all having that we haven't really said yet is that it's across from the residential development. Correct. So I think my proposal, if we were going to add some conditions, would be if the sign's illuminated, we'd like it turned off after business hours. And I'd further propose that we tie the permit to business hours itself. Some form of business hours, because as you know, it goes with the property. So if for whatever reason the applicant leaves, another shop could come in and operate 24 hours a day and potentially present a nuisance to the surrounding residential development.
So if we think that goes in section 5, do we want to go ahead and vote on 4?
I think 4 is probably an easy call. Happy to take a motion on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So the health, safety, and welfare item, you have it in front of you, but not detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare.
Motion to approve.
Do you want to add in the sign stuff?
Yeah, is that where it belongs, or is it a nuisance?
We can just lump it in at number 6 with other provisions.
Actually, I think it probably belongs in the common decision criteria, item 3, which protects quality of life, improves the town's appearance.
Gonna reopen 3.
Well, I'm just going through these. I think it's possible that I may have messed up here and should have started at the common decision criteria. Would you agree with that, Shelley?
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah. I see. Okay.
So this is just fine, just recognize as we get back to the back page. Some of this is repetitive, it's just the way our UDO is, so.
It is.
If we get through the first section, then section 145.0107 includes number 3, which is the purposes of the UDO, which is really encompasses everything, that's where that's.
Right, but technically our decision should rely on the common use criteria 1 through 8, and not necessarily the first 6, which we already received a staff report on.
Yeah, so the first 6 is actually called out, which is special use standards.
Okay.
You need to make those.
Okay.
And the common decision criteria that should wrap it up.
So my recommendation would be to consider the 2 items that we're talking about in item 3 under common use and just continue moving on with our votes. So I'll take other provisions here, complies with all other applicable sections of the UDO. And regardless of what the outcome of this decision is, we would enforce that anyway. The town would enforce that. We would not enforce it. Do I have a motion on that item?
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now where we should have started here were the common decision criteria, applicable standards of the UDO, town code, and applicant has provided proof of compliance with any proceeding in applicable county, state, or federal regulations. I do have a question about that item. You said the building permits were appropriate through the county.
That's correct.
DHHS, however, does provide certain health regulations with regard to tattoo parlors. Have they provided that approval?
No, they have to provide proof of special use permit that the town authorizes. So that's why a proposed condition of approval is that they obtain all these other
Okay.
permits that would have to provide us.
Okay.
So they have 2 years to obtain.
Yeah, okay. So given that the conditions that are put on it regarding item number 1, do I have a motion on that item?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Item 2, request substantially conforms to any associated prior approval for the development, including but not limited to special use permit, conditional zoning, site development plan. As you heard from the staff report, it is a non-conforming site. However, one of the recommendations is to do the trash enclosure around the site. And it's my understanding staff feels that it's highly unlikely that it could become a conforming site with anything that we could impose as an additional condition.
Motion to approve with the trash enclosure included.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. Item 3 is the purposes of the UDO. I'm not going to read all of that to everyone. You have it in front of you. But my recommendation would be to add a, if signage is illuminated, it should be turned off during non-business hours. And in addition to that, I would recommend that we put a condition on it that the business hours go from whatever this board is comfortable with. The applicant indicated 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They may want to reconsider that, given that we're considering putting a condition on it. But those 2 conditions would be my recommendation to the board. Do you want to come up and address that?
Your business hours from 11 to 7 p.m. We just want to make sure that once that's the condition of approval, you have to comply with that. So that would mean that if you change your mind on Saturday, you come in at 9 p.m. and get it done. You would be out of compliance. So really think about your business hours. But you did say Monday, 7 days a week, correct? That's your business hours. So should I just extend? Well, it's up to you. They're proposing. You mentioned this window, so you just want to make sure whatever window we're going to document it, put as a condition of approval that it allows,
So it would be more of a question from us. So now, coming from the signage, we would, if it does have lighting, to come off from a certain time, on and off from a certain time to a certain time. Now with sometimes having people to inquire like really big sessions of a tattoo, let's say a full arm, if it extends more of the hours of work, then do you guys have any more of a recommendation for us to say, okay, can we operate from, okay, can we just put it into an early morning time let's say 7 a.m. and then maybe extend it to a good 10 p.m., but having the signage to be off at a certain time. Not quite sure. And it's not always, it's just because of where he worked before. Is that shop is in Charlotte, and it's a whole different thing, you know. But Independence Road, where it's busy, next to a Papa John's. So he would stay, sometimes they would work until maybe 11 p.m. So what is it that you guys recommend and we would follow? We don't want to be affected just because we picked a certain time. And if it's something that you guys recommend certain time to a certain time, then that's what we would.
Can I ask a quick question? Is it about the sign, the lit sign? Is that why you want the hours? Isn't the sign being lit up?
It's not really this board's responsibility to decide what does
Yeah.
or doesn't conform with the UDO. It's really your responsibility to present to us things that would comply with the UDO. The board seems to be under the impression that because you're so close to a residential neighborhood, that you could potentially be a nuisance outside of regular business hours. Now, the UDO requires certain items about noise and activity in any residential area. I think it's past 10 p.m. on weekdays or something like that, and maybe 11 p.m. on weekends. I'm not sure the exact date. So what we're asking for you to do is present something that would make us feel comfortable that you're complying with the UDO, especially adjacent to a residential zone. So I don't think we're going to tell you what hours.
Yeah, okay, and that's fine.
Can you come up to the microphone so we can?
Yeah, so let's just put there can't be a lit sign. None of the other signs are lit. I don't even think there's electricity to put up there. Nobody else has a sign that's lit up. Let's say that they can't have a lit up sign.
Is that what you're proposing?
I'm fine with no lit
Okay.
up sign.
How does the board feel about the business hour discussion? I mean, are you comfortable? Let's just say, if we don't put a business hour condition on here, it can be 24 hours a day. So,
Are there limits on other businesses in there now? Be my question.
no, but they don't require a special use permit either.
Yeah, but I would argue that a business in that fits the same mold as other businesses in there. For
Yeah.
example, a makeup place or a hair place that would need to get started at 5 a.m. would be just as much of a nuisance as a tattoo use that would end at 11 p.m.
Could be.
So I don't necessarily feel like they're burdening the public if there's not a lit sign that's going to be shining on their house
Mhm.
at all hours of the night. But I understand the 24-hour operation is the only thing that would concern me if another, but I'm not so sure they would have to get their own individual permit at that point.
Well, it follows the property. Am I right, Rich?
I'm sorry.
Special use follows the property.
Yeah.
It follows the property, not the tenant.
So that would be
I
my,
would point out that this, what they're proposing is by appointment. It's not open all the time.
Agreed.
It's only open when they have an appointment.
agreed.
Right.
I think Ian's point earlier was if these property owners leave at some point and somebody that doesn't operate by appointment only comes in and wants to do 24-hour tattooing, then the door would be open for that to happen. And that's the only concern in allowing this through permits.
Mhm. I'd like to make a comment.
Please.
Absolutely.
While we've been working in this project or business and putting floors and cleaning, sometimes we stayed up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., maybe no sleep night time sometimes, and only the light on. And it's really has not been an issue for our neighbors, even for the residential neighbors. They have come forward to us and, oh, hi, how are you? Walk their dogs and how are you? And there's cats out there, and people are just like not really into that. If we propose it to be 24/7, which I don't think it would be a 24/7, we need to get some rest too. We have families, we have kids, we have other things. I have a full-time job, It would be more of a, like you said, it's more into appointment. What would really not be seen as affecting or anything? We wouldn't have the lighting sign, and not only that, we do, as we see by appointment, we would be closing doors, locking doors. So it wouldn't be more of a coming in and out, or people really coming to see during the time that we're going to be working either. Give us.
If the issue is,
She said-
that you're worried about someone else coming in and tapping them with a tattoo card, just make a condition that it's by appointment only for this application. And that way, if someone else does come in later, they would still have to operate the same way.
That's a good call.
I'm not sure how to address the time issue based on what they say, but I can understand why you want to put some time limit on it.
Can't control their hours. I see your point.
Well, the question is whether it becomes a nuisance.
True.
Across from a residential zone at, 2 a.m, you're doing an arm sleeve, right? Look, this is anecdotal, but I have tattoos. And halfway through one, when it's time to take a break, the adrenaline is pumping, and you want to go outside and smoke a cigarette and scream into the air. And that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, correct.
And so I just get it, right? When I was having my neck done, I had to take a break and go do some yelling for a minute, right?
Well,
I get it. What I'm trying to do is
Yeah.
avoid that across from the people
From
that
the
are
people
that are
that-
sleeping and their kids got to get up at 6 a.m. and,
yeah.
and get on the
Um,
bus. That's my concern.
Yeah.
So I'd like to find a way to make sure that you bring your friends with you, right? Come with me and let's get a
Oh,
tattoo.
that's
and
something
they're-
that is not allowed. That's something that is into the rules, or even if somebody's going to sign the waiver before
Yeah.
they're being seen, no smoking, no allowed to bring any people, kids, or more than one companion, and only if you're there is going to be a lot of rules from our side, because like we said, we're trying to be something different than from the ordinary tattoo shops where you go and you see all the chairs and everybody's getting tattoos done and you can see everybody tattooing and all of that.
Mhm.
We want everybody to have their own private space, everybody to be treated more like luxury, different type of tattoos spot than just any tattoo shop in North Carolina. That's what we're trying to do.
No, and I fully appreciate that, but we're not really considering what your rules are and how they
Yeah,
apply to
yeah.
this decision.
But,
We're trying to understand that
what I'm trying-
regardless of who is the tenant,
Yeah.
that these safeguards are in place for the town and the town residents.
Yeah, what I'm trying to explain is how we will be working and not trying to affect neither neighbors or residents or any other.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. More thoughts from the board.
On that concern about folks coming outside, is there any precedent to setting a loitering ruling with an approval?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, it's a special use permit, or we can set whatever conditions we'd like.
So to that point, would it be helpful to have a rule of no loitering after a certain hour in terms of that component of the nuisance?
Well, you gotta smoke when you're getting a tattoo. I'm just saying. What's that? That's right. I just want to avoid the nuisance, and it seems to me the easiest way to do that is to limit the time. The rest of the town and the residential areas are limited in our UDO by their time. I see no reason why, under a special use permit, that the business wants to operate there that could have a potential effect on the residential neighborhoods isn't regulated to similar timeframes.
How is the rest of the UDO? Because they have to follow the UDO. So what does the UDO call for business hours? You're saying
the UDO does not cover business hours.
Okay.
Any business that wants to go operate where they're allowed by right can do whatever they want.
Correct.
This is special situations. In residential zones, I believe quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. I want to say. I don't know the exact rules, but that wouldn't apply.
6 or 7.
That wouldn't apply to any business that wanted to operate, right? But they happen to be adjacent to a residential zone, and therefore we have to take that into consideration. If the board does not want to consider that, I'm fine. I'm just putting it in front of you that is a concern that I have, and
I'd be more interested in setting it as an appointment only opportunity than limiting business hours. Because if it's appointment only, you're only gonna have so many folks that are gonna be able to be there
at any one time. Yeah.
So if we set it by appointment only, and there's no illuminated signage, then I think that's satisfactory.
So I just checked the town's municipal code, it's approving noise ordinance where residential area play radio, music instruments, between the hours 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. to annoy neighbors. So it's from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Specifically noted for residential areas.
Let's see. It actually doesn't. It doesn't clarify like a zoning district. It just talks about playing radio, music, high volumes. You can't disturb the comfort of any dwelling, hotel, or any type of residence. So it doesn't say that if a commercial business couldn't have like a loud band outside.
A complaint.
Yeah, they could file a noise complaint.
Sure. Okay. That makes it easier for me because we can enforce it regardless of the business. Someone could make a call to the sheriff's office and just say, some guy's out here screaming in pain. It's not pain. It's
So 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.? Is that what it?
So between the hours of 11 at night to 7 in the morning,
It should be
quiet
a
time.
quiet time.
quiet time.
So for us to put in hours to, okay, let's say we're going to be open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Thoughts or just
Still don't
scrap
want
it?
any
Not that we like to.
illuminated signs.
I think we can.
I think
They've offered that. We can
can add that.
we can make that happen.
Okay, you good with that?
The question is, do we care about the hours any longer, knowing that they're under the noise complaint ordinance regardless, and they have to comply with the UDO? I'm fine with leaving that out.
No. So when you
Yeah, if they want to be there cleaning late after.
Right, of
appointment,
course,
that's-
of
yeah.
course.
So when you go start your Harley up after you get that sleeve,
Uh-huh.
I'd be more apt to the appointment only and the no lit sign edition.
yeah.
So is that a motion to add those as to consideration?
I will motion to approve item 3 with the addition of no lit signs permissible on premises, and all operations are by appointment only.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did you catch those, Shelley? So there'll be no illumination.
So I'll just repeat what I have. It's no illuminated signs associated with this business at this site, as well as operations are by appointment only.
Mhm. Would you like to make any comments on those, or do those sound acceptable to you?
Yeah, that's very acceptable because that's how we're trying to operate, by appointment only.
All right, let's move on to item 4 then, which is maintenance operation or endanger public health, safety, and general welfare.
Motion that it meets?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Administrative body has considered the recommendation of staff in the public meeting. That includes the 3 recommended conditions that staff has implemented.
Motion to approve.
Yeah. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Sort of redundant here, but again, this requires the HALOP and does not impair the implementation of the HALOP.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Adequate facilities.
Motion that it meets?
Do we need to add in the trash enclosure here, or are we good with it prior?
Adequate facilities is usually utilities. What we did on common decision criteria, item 2, was the trash enclosure.
As long as it's good and just there.
Yeah.
So I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Shelley, I don't believe I need to go through the rest of these.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So having gone through all those and having no no's, I would accept a motion to either approve or deny with the conditions, the 3 that staff recommended and the 2 that the board recommended, including no illuminated signage and business by appointment only.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, in H2025-01, special use permit, Royal Empire Tattoo Studio, the motion carries and the special use permit is approved. We do not have any old business, nor any new business. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. God